Hello and welcome to a different sort of chat from me. This is a book review. I haven't done one of these before, but this is about Morgan Daimler's latest book, Fairy, The Otherworld by Many Names. And I will start by saying that I am a huge fan of this author. I think the knowledge that they have, the wealth and breadth of it that they have in their heads is just phenomenal. I've seen them in interviews, they get asked questions, and you can see, and then they just say what it is, and it's just very, very pleased to be able to get hold of this book and chat to you about it. So what is it? It is a wealth of knowledge, as you would expect from this particular author. So you can see it's a Pagan Portals from Moon Books, and it's quite a thin book. Don't be misled. It contains 114 pages of information. Seven of those are the bibliography, and that is what I love about Morgan Daimler, because they will tell you where they've got their information from. Because as they say in the introduction, or the author's note, I believe it is, every book ultimately reflects the biases of the author, and for me, Fairy is a real place that humans may interact with, and which is the home of many different beings that may come into the human world. But it's that first bit, reflects the biases of the author. Right away, the author tells you that this is going to have her bias, but it's based on the information that she has got from everything that she has read in this 7 pages of bibliography. Just for the size of the book, absolutely amazing. And it is about the other world, about the fairy world. The author has kept it succinct in that they have limited it to Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. Again, they've said in their introduction that they could have included the Norse Elfland, I think that's how you say it, but they felt that this would actually dilute the information more, although there are crossovers, and they say that there are quite a number of crossovers with the Norse, especially with the Scottish fairy world. So that is very interesting. I hope that they decide to do a book where they actually do look at that and look at Elfland in relation to the other Celtic lands. So the book actually will tell you the similarities between the ones for, I want to say the UK, but it isn't the UK as such, because obviously Ireland is Ireland. It does have Northern Ireland, but yeah. So for this area of the Celtic peoples, there are lots of similarities between each of them. Morgan Daimler then points out the differences. And that is really interesting, because although they obviously migrated, they came over, they then settled, these people settled in their own lands. So they would have had their own nuances, their own ideas. So they may have had an archetypal, if you want, or a base of information, but then as they moved and they separated and they went off into their individual areas, those changed because of the area that they were in. Very much to do with the land and what the land was telling them and showing them, which is really interesting. And it is the whole book, as I say, it won't take you long to read it through. but then it's going to be a deep dive, because there are going to be parts of it that are going to stimulate you to go and look for other information. Hence why I'm so excited about the bibliography, because you can look to see where you can go next. So I'm just going to find the chapters. So the contents start off obviously with the author's note and the foreword, which is by Daniela Simoner. And should have been more prepared, shouldn't I? She's the author of Where Fairies Meet, Parallels Between Irish and Romanian Fairy Traditions, and A Fairy Path, the memoir of a young fairy seer in training. I have to admit, I haven't read either of her books, so that might be another rabbit hole that I end up going down. So after the introductions, the first chapter is what is the Otherworld? So it's like an overview of what it is and what it isn't, because most of our fairy knowledge today is very much based on the romanticized visions of Victorian and Edwardian era. So this is just saying what is from the older sources and what isn't. Just saying. We then go into each of the chapters. So the first chapter is looking at the Irish Otherworld. We then go to Scotland, to Elfland, and to Wales. Anon. I apologise to any Welsh speakers. And then to Avalon for England. There's then a general discussion about fairy in the next chapter. And then, very interestingly, chapter 7 is all about the Christian influences on the fairies and how we perceive fairies. So that's very interesting. The next one, modern fairy. So that's bringing us into how they interact with us today. And there is this does the world run parallel to us? Does the world run underground? Which from some sources, as Morgan Daimler says in here, could be the case, because the other world is said not to have stars or moon or sun, but to have diffused lighting. Could it be underneath? Could it be? Who knows? We don't know. Does it run parallel? You see, there's just so many things that people have their own ideas about, and you can get from reading the sources. So in this book, Morgan Daimler is giving you the basics, allowing you to look at things that might interest you further by looking at the bibliography. As I say, I can see this sending me down rather a large rabbit hole. And then the final chapter is Through the Mists, Finding Fairy, how you can do this. And it is through meditation, dreams, taking voluntary journeys, and trance work, which she gives short little bits about. She then says, surviving fairy. And this is where she really did win me over. I come from an Irish background. I was very much taught that you acknowledge them. You are always very circumspect around them, but you don't have anything to do with them unless you absolutely have to. And you definitely don't want them in your house. So when I saw this particular part of the chapter, Surviving Fairy, I was just like, yeah. They don't work from the same moral compass as us. They are tricksters. They take great delight in seeing us absolutely flummoxed. Having said that, they can also be extremely helpful. The ones I have out in my garden definitely look out after my garden, because I look after the garden too. That's something that I've personally, this is my own gnosis now, if I am polite and acknowledge that they are there and leave them little treats or bits and pieces, but also put the work in myself, I've noticed that they will help. So I have a very small garden, but it's full of life, and it's full of birds and frogs and slow worms, and I've even had a grass snake out there. And I know that that's to do with them and me. And as I say, that's part of the symbiosis of it. I know they're there. They know I'm there. Do we actually interact? No, but that's my choice and theirs. We acknowledge each other, tip the hat and say thank you. Actually, you don't ever say thank you. You just acknowledge that they're there, and if you notice something that wasn't around before, you just say, "Oh, that's really nice. I'm glad that's appeared." But yeah, so surviving, not eating while you're in the other world. Watching your words and everyone else's too. If you're actually doing a ritual with fairy, with a group of people, make sure that you're all on the same wavelength, because it may not be your words, it could be somebody else's words. And she actually says the folk of fairy are notoriously tricksy and prone to semantics. So yeah, treat it as real. Don't discard it. Don't belittle it or make fun of it, because that will definitely rile them up. And then she goes on about getting back again. So make sure that you get back out, because obviously you want to be able to get back out. As you can probably guess, because I've just waffled and yeah, I am really happy to have this book and would highly recommend it to anybody who is interested in learning. Whether you actually want to interact with them or not doesn't matter, but if you want to learn more about their world and how to interact in whatever way you want to or not, I would recommend Morgan Daimler's books, all of her books on fairy. But yeah, this is the latest one and covers their world rather than them. So yes, I hope this has been helpful to somebody. Make comments as always, and I'll see you in the next one.